Euthanasia is quickly being morphed from an individual's right to die with dignity to the state's right to murder with impunity. Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, and first of all, as at the time of shooting this vlog, it is Memorial Day in America, so I am wishing everyone a very meaningful Memorial Day. May we pay proper tribute to the men and women who fought, were injured, and died to preserve our freedoms. And this story, reading this story, look, I don't always swear on Twitter, but when I do, there is a fucking good reason. From the Daily Mail, physically healthy Dutch woman Zoraya Beek dies by euthanasia aged 29 because she did not want to live with depression. Another headline from NDTV, Dutch woman chooses euthanasia due to untreatable mental health struggles. The procedure will take place at Beek's home. Her doctor will administer a sedative followed by medication to stop her heart. And this is one of those cases where the content of the article is even more shocking than the shocking headline, but I see this and I have to take to Twitter to put out the following tweet, and forgive me in advance for the expletive. This is fucking murder. And another tweet, quote, untreatable mental health struggles, end quote. Everyone involved in this, except for the victim, cannot go to hell fast enough. This is something I've been talking about for a while and raising the alarms because I saw these figures a couple of years ago and I could not believe what I was seeing. The levels of euthanasia in Canada have reached epic proportions. That's to say over 4% of all death in Canada is government-administered death. And the increases in euthanasia being administered in Canada year over year, starting specifically in 2019, it's shocking to say the least. It's come to the point now where it has seemingly been morphed, been bastardized from the individual's right to die with dignity to the government's right to murder with impunity. These are the statistics in Canada. We have gone from 1,018 euthanized Canadians in 2016 to 13,241 in 2022. And that's assuming you believe the statistics, because I believe they are wildly underreported. I have talked at length about the evolution of euthanasia in Canada under Justin Trudeau's regime. It started with the Supreme Court ruling that it was unconstitutional to deny someone the right to die, and it has since been morphed into administering death. And it has since been bastardized and morphed into administering death to the mentally ill, to people who aren't suffering from any underlying fatal illness. From those who are in fact not even terminally ill to those who are mentally ill, and now they want to expand it to minors. Associated Press, Canada isn't pushing minors to end their lives. Current euthanasia laws don't apply to them anyway. Current euthanasia laws. Claim, Canada is encouraging minors to commit suicide through its medical assistance in dying process. AP's assessment? False. Social media users making the claim are sharing a screenshot from the website of an independent organization called Dying with Dignity Canada, which is advocating for certain minors with severe medical conditions to be able to end their lives. Medical assistance in dying, or MAID, is currently only available to adults 18 or older with a serious illness, disease, or disability. Canada's government has said it will pursue research about end-of-life options for young people, but a spokesperson for the country's federal health agency said it has no immediate plans to lower the minimum age requirement for eligibility. A special joint committee on medical assistance in dying, composed of lawmakers from the country's parliament, explored the possibility of eligibility for mature minors, among other topics. Its final report was released in February and includes 5 recommendations related to minors, including that, quote, minors deemed to have the requisite decision-making capacity upon assessment, end quote, be eligible for MAID. In its June response to this report, the Canadian government wrote that it, quote, has actions underway or planned in many of the areas covered by the committee's recommendations, end quote. This includes funding for research on MAID and marginalized people, including mature minors, and engagement with Indigenous people on the topic. I've said it before and I'll say it again, wordsmiths of the devil. The fact checkers are wordsmiths of the devil. It's gotten so bad that there was a poll, as reported in the Canadian press, that 1/3 of Canadians actually approve of medical assistance in dying for homeless people. From the National Post, 1/3 of Canadians fine with prescribing assisted suicide for homelessness. Roughly the same number told a poll they were fine with approving MAID for someone whose only affliction was poverty. It has gotten so bad in Canada that they're offering medical assistance in dying, aka euthanasia, aka, in my humble opinion, state-sanctioned murder, not only to people who are not terminally ill, but they are offering it to veterans. They offered it to someone who I met through the internet, Kayla Pollock, who has since become a friend. They offered medical assistance in dying to a woman named Kayla Pollock, who was rendered a quadriplegic by the Moderna booster. They offered it to her unsolicited because they can't treat the condition that she's afflicted with after having done what the government told her to do.
Please stop before you scroll. I was paralyzed by the COVID-19 shot. You will not hear my story on mainstream media. If you do not believe this story or would like medical proof, you can go to my website at www.opkayla.ca. That's www.opkayla.ca. The Canadian government has left me fending for myself without the necessary treatments. Instead, they offered me MAID, which is medical assistance in dying. That's what they offered me after this was medically proven to be caused by my COVID-19 shot. That is not treatment, that is suicide or euthanasia. I would treat any human being better than that I even disliked. I don't just have to live without my legs anymore. I have to live with massive pain, a lesion in my spine, no bowel or bladder movements, somebody coming to get me dressed every day, having to be alone in bed when my fire alarm goes off, unable to move. This is not okay and I need help. I'm appealing to anyone on social media to please share this video so that others like me can find help as well. If we don't speak up, we won't get the help. Please go to www.opkayla.ca to get the full story, the medical records, and the audio recording of the doctor telling you that this is related, directly caused by my COVID-19 vaccine, the Moderna one.
So yeah, this has gone from an individual's right to die with dignity to a government's ability to murder with impunity. And I say this as someone who is very sympathetic to euthanasia. I had a father-in-law who passed away from cancer, and Lord knows that nobody wanted to see him suffering terminally in anguish. And I say, but for the grace of God, the only godsend of his illness is that he passed away quickly without suffering for too long in a hospital. I have no problem with euthanasia, and I do believe people who are terminally ill should have the right to die with dignity, choose to die in a way that does not prolong their agonizing suffering. But to go from that to euthanizing someone who is clinically depressed, holy crab apples, we have entered the realm of criminality as far as I'm concerned. And if you thought you were outraged by the headline of that article, wait till I read you the body of it. A 28-year-old Dutch woman named Zoraya Beek will undergo euthanasia in May due to severe mental health struggles. According to the Free Press, Beek has battled depression, autism, and borderline personality disorder throughout her life. Despite having a loving boyfriend and pets, she feels her mental illness is untreatable. Now, this woman was in fact euthanized, and it's not just that she suffered from borderline personality disorder or clinical depression. She was also autistic, according to the article. So we have gone from the right to die with dignity to murder people suffering from mental illness, not just clinical depression, but autism. There used to be a word for this type of conduct, and I dare say it was actually called eugenics. Doctors informed Beek there were no further treatment options. This aligns with a growing trend in the Netherlands, where euthanasia is legal. More people are choosing to end their suffering from mental health issues rather than endure them. Beek's case has sparked debate, some believing it highlights a concerning trend of healthcare professionals readily resorting to euthanasia for mental health problems. Others argue it grants terminally ill patients more control over their final days. Yeah, except in the case of Beek and many others, she was not terminally ill. She in fact suffered from some form of mental illness, not just clinical depression, but autism. Imagine that you are granting people who may not even be able to enter into contracts due to vitiated consent as a result of mental illness. You're granting them the right to decide to end their own lives, and the government comes in happily to do it. More people are deciding to end their lives while suffering from a slew of other mental health problems like depression and anxiety, amplified by economic uncertainty, climate change, social media, and other issues, the Free Press reported. Holy hell, so you can torment people, you can traumatize people with doom and gloom cataclysms about the environment, climate change, etc., and then kill them when they say that they are too anxious to go on living. This is almost like it's by design. If I had to say, if something were by design, I'd say if you wanted to do this and make it look like it wasn't by design, what would you be doing any different? Quote, I see the phenomenon, especially in young people with psychiatric diseases and especially in young people with psychiatric disorders, where the healthcare professional seems to give up on them more easily than before, end quote, she added. Once upon a time, there was a term given to this, and it wasn't a cute little euphemism of medical assistance in dying or maids. It wasn't even euthanasia. It was called mercy killings, and it wasn't progressives administering it. It was Hitler's regime administering it. From the Holocaust Encyclopedia, Euthanasia Program, and Action T4. The goal of the Nazi euthanasia program was to kill people with mental and physical disabilities. In the Nazi view, this would cleanse the, quote, Aryan, end quote, race of people considered genetically defective and a financial burden to society. As we say in Quebec, plus ça change, plus ça reste le même. The more things change, the more they stay the same. My goodness, are they describing the same thing? Just one is describing it from a progressive perspective, and the other one is describing it from a Nazi perspective. Back to the article, the Netherlands legalized euthanasia in 2001. Since then, the number of euthanasia deaths has steadily risen. In 2022, it accounted for 5% of all deaths in the country. This has fueled criticism from those who believe the law encourages suicide. Beek herself addressed these concerns on social media before taking a leave of absence. And Beek was administered the ultimate leave of absence because the government did in fact kill her just recently. A physically healthy Dutch woman has died by euthanasia shortly after turning 29 because she didn't want to live with depression and anxiety. Zoraya Beek, who also suffered from trauma and borderline personality disorder, decided that she wanted to die after struggling with mental health issues for over a decade while claiming that no treatment had helped her. Well, this is a financial burden that the universal healthcare system of the Netherlands will no longer have to deal with, and I think it's only a matter of time before not only will they be encouraging mentally ill people to commit suicide or state-sanctioned murder, as far as I'm concerned, they'll soon start harvesting their organs immediately thereafter. It's a 2-for-1 saving for universal healthcare. And don't worry, Justin Trudeau's CBC propagandist machine out of Canada is one step ahead of you. From CBC News, January 23, 2017, medically assisted deaths could save millions in healthcare spending, report. Across Canada, Journal calculates up to $136 million in savings. I've said it before, and I will unfortunately probably say it again. The liberals, the so-called modern-day progressives, are the modern-day Nazis. Viva Frei at the Viva Frei. It's impossible to overstate how atrocious this is. It is basically a license to kill. The court accepted as fact that the woman seeking death is autistic and has cognitive impairments as a result. She had applied for death twice before, and twice before had a split decision. Only on the third time charm did she find 2 doctors willing to administer her requested death. And the court comes to the conclusion that it's a medical decision in respect of which it has no oversight. Euthanizing the mentally impaired at Justin Trudeau's Liberal government are the modern day Nazis, period. This was in the context of a Canadian court case of an autistic woman who obtained authorization to end her life. Her father came in and said no, went to the courts and said, do not allow my autistic daughter to kill herself. And the court said, it's a medical decision. We have no right to intervene in state-sanctioned murder. So that's it. I'm sorry if you were not already in a bad mood today, but this will certainly put you in a bad mood. And if it doesn't, you need to check your pulse. But that's the state of the world right now. So-called progressivism is leading to outright regressivism. And that's about it. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure your notifications are turned on and you hit thumbs up and drop a comment whenever I post a new vlog. If you like what I do, Viva Frei on Rumble, the Viva Frei on Twitter, vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the best above average community anywhere. But more importantly, exercise, eat healthy, get sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah.